At age 35, Chukwuemeka still asks the same question every single morning. Mama, what are we eating today? Not, good morning, Mama. Not, how did you sleep? Just food. And Mama Adana would smile that tired smile, tie her faded wrapper tighter around her waist, and walk into the kitchen like nothing was wrong, like it was completely normal for a 35-year-old man to wake up at 10 a.m. and ask his aging mother what she was cooking for him. But that smile was tired. It was the smile of a woman who had been waking up at 4 a.m. for 35 years, feeding a son who never learned to feed himself. Mama Adana was 62 now, a widow for 12 years. Her husband, Chief Chukwuemeka Sr., had died suddenly of a heart attack one humid August morning, leaving her with a small provision shop, an unfinished two-bedroom house in Satellite Town, and a son with a business administration degree from University of Lagos, and absolutely no ambition. "Don't worry, Mama," Emeka had said at the funeral, his tie loosened, his eyes strangely dry. "I will take care of you now. Papa left me as the man of this house." 12 years later, Mama was still waiting for that care to begin. Emeka had worked exactly 3 jobs in 12 years. The first one lasted 7 months before he was fired for chronic lateness. He couldn't wake up early enough to beat Lagos traffic. The second lasted 4 months before he quit because the manager was disrespecting him by asking him to work overtime. The third lasted exactly 2 weeks before he simply stopped going, claiming the commute from Satellite Town to Victoria Island was draining his life force. "Mama, Lagos is not easy," he would say, sprawled on the threadbare sofa at 2 p.m., scrolling through football highlights on his cracked phone screen. "A man needs to find the right opportunity. I can't just work anywhere like a common laborer. I have a degree. Papa spent money on my education." And Mama would nod quietly, because what else could she do? She had raised him to believe he was special. She had called him my king and my prize since he was a baby. She had served him food on a tray while he watched television. She had washed his clothes even when he was 25, 28, 30 years old. Now that king slept until 10 a.m. and asked what was for breakfast. Every morning, the routine was exactly the same. Mama Adana woke at 4 a.m. Her knees cracked as she lowered herself from the bed, the same bed she had shared with her husband for 23 years before he died. Her back ached from years of bending over the low wooden stool in the kitchen, stirring pots, pounding yam, frying dakara in hot oil that spat at her arms and left burn marks like tribal scars. But she never complained. Complaining was not in her vocabulary. By 5 a.m., she had fetched water from the well in the compound because NEPA had taken the light again and the electric pump was useless. By 5:30 a.m., she had bathed in cold water that made her gasp, dressed in one of her 4 wrappers, rotating them throughout the week, and was in the kitchen lighting the temperamental kerosene stove. She would boil yam or fry plantain or make jollof rice or prepare beans and dodo, whatever Emeka had mentioned craving the day before. Because if she cooked something he didn't want, he would suck his teeth in that particular way that made her heart sink and say, "Mama, but I told you I wanted rice," and would eat only a few spoonfuls before pushing the plate away like a disappointed monarch. By 8 a.m., she was at her shop, a small wooden kiosk by the roadside, painted green and white, with Mama Adana Provisions written in peeling letters above the window. She sold bread, peak milk, Maggi cubes, Blue Band margarine, sachets of detergent, and palm oil in old gin bottles. The shop barely made 3,000 naira profit on a good day, but Mama Adana never raised her prices too high because she knew her neighbors were suffering too. "Mama, please now, add this small thing on top. I will pay you on Friday when my husband collects his salary," they would plead, and she would add it on credit, writing the debt in her tattered notebook with dates that stretched back months, sometimes years. Some debts she knew she would never collect. Some debtors had moved away. Some had died. Emeka never asked about the shop, never asked how much she made or how she managed to pay the electricity bill, the water bill, the house rates. Never offered to carry the heavy crates of Coca-Cola and Fanta that the distributor dropped off every Monday morning. Crates so heavy they left red marks on her palms. He was always too busy. Busy sleeping, busy watching Premier League matches, busy arguing with his friends in the WhatsApp group about which team was better, busy talking about cryptocurrency and forex trading schemes that never materialized into actual money. But every morning at exactly 10 a.m., like a malfunctioning alarm clock, his voice would ring out from the bedroom. "Mama, what are we eating today?" And Mama would close her shop temporarily, apologize to any waiting customer, and walk back to the house in the hot sun to serve him his food. She would dish the rice or yam onto his plate, warm it if necessary, pour him a cup of cold water from the clay pot, and set it on the small table in front of the television. "Thank you, Mama," he would mumble, his eyes already fixed on the screen, and she would stand there for a moment, watching him eat before returning to her shop. The neighbors had started talking months ago, but recently the whispers had become louder, bolder. "That boy is spoiling on top his mother's head," Mama Ngozi from the next compound said one afternoon, deliberately loud enough for Mama Adana to hear as she walked past with a basin of tomatoes balanced on her head. 35 years old and still eating from her mother's pot like a suckling child. No job, no wife, no shame, just sleeping and eating. "Na so e be o," another woman agreed. "If na my son, I for don't chase am comot since." Mama Adana kept her eyes straight ahead, her smile fixed on her face, pretending she heard nothing, but the words pierced her like thorns. The talk followed her everywhere. At the market, women would lower their voices when she approached, then resume their gossip when she passed. At St. Michael's Catholic Church every Sunday, she could feel eyes on her back during Mass, could hear her name in the murmured conversations during fellowship after service. Even her own relatives had stopped being subtle about their disapproval. "Adana, when will that your son marry?" Auntie Nkechi, her younger sister, asked directly during a family meeting at their eldest brother's house. "He is not getting any younger, oh."
35 years is serious. And you too, sister. You are enabling him. You are cooking for him, washing for him, treating him like a small boy. What woman will want to marry a man who cannot boil water for himself? "My son is waiting for the right woman," Mama Adana replied, her voice tight. Nigerian girls of nowadays, they don't know how to respect a man. They are too proud, too stubborn. My Emeka needs a humble, good wife. "Humble wife?" Uncle Okeke laughed bitterly. "Sister, no woman wants a man-child. Your son needs to stand on his own feet first before any sensible girl will look at him twice." "Leave my son alone," Mama Adana said, standing up abruptly. "He's looking for a good job. When he finds it, everything will change. You people should stop talking about what you don't understand." But as she walked home that evening, her sister's words echoed in her head. And deep in her heart, beneath all the justifications and excuses, she knew they were right. The accumulation. The breaking point didn't come suddenly. It accumulated like rain in a bucket, drop by drop, day by day, until finally the bucket overflowed. There was the day Mama Adana collapsed in the market from exhaustion and had to be carried to a nearby pharmacy. Emeka didn't visit her there. He called her phone instead and asked, "Mama, are you cooking tonight or should I order rice from that woman's canteen?" There was the day her blood pressure spiked so high that the pharmacist sternly warned her, "Mama, you need to rest. You need to reduce your stress. Your body is breaking down." There was the day she asked Emeka to help her carry a bag of rice from the distributor, just one bag, and he said, "Mama, I am tired. I didn't sleep well last night. Ask the gate man to help you." There was the morning she woke up and realized she couldn't remember the last time someone had asked if she was hungry, if she needed anything, if she was okay. The bucket was full, and it took just one more drop. The silence. It happened on a Thursday morning in October. Mama Adana woke at 4 a.m. as usual, but this time something was different. There was a heavy weight pressing on her chest, making it hard to breathe. Not physical pain exactly, but something deeper, a soul-deep exhaustion that made her bones feel like they were filled with sand. She sat on the edge of her bed for several minutes, staring at the darkness, listening to the sound of her own labored breathing and the distant crow of a rooster in someone's backyard. She thought about her life, about the decades of sacrifice, about waking up before dawn for 35 years, about the son she had raised alone after her husband died, the son she had poured everything into, her time, her energy, her money, her very life force, only to watch him become a man who cannot do anything for himself. A man who still asked every morning, "Mama, what are we eating today?" And something inside her, something that had been bending and bending for years, finally snapped. She didn't go to the kitchen that morning. She just sat there on the edge of her bed, staring at the faded curtains as the sky outside slowly shifted from black to grey to pale orange. At 10 a.m., Emeka's voice rang out from his bedroom, slightly muffled from sleep. "Mama, what are we eating today?" Silence. Emeka waited a few seconds, then called again, louder this time, with a hint of impatience. "Mama, I said what are we eating? I'm hungry, oh." Silence. Confused now, Emeka sat up in bed. He scratched his belly and checked his phone. 10:17 a.m. Mama should have been back from the shop by now, with his food ready. She was always back by this time. The routine never changed. He got up, wearing only his boxers and an old Arsenal jersey with holes under the arms, and padded barefoot to her bedroom. The door was open. She was sitting on the bed, still in her nightgown, a faded pink thing she had owned for at least 10 years, staring at the wall. "Mama, are you sick?" She didn't answer, didn't even turn to look at him. "Mama, I'm talking to you. What's wrong? Are you okay?" Still nothing. It was as if she couldn't hear him or as if he didn't exist. A strange flutter of panic stirred in Emeka's chest. He had never seen her mother like this before, so still, so quiet, so completely absent. "Mama, you're scaring me. Should I call somebody? Should I call Auntie Nkechi?" Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Mama Adana turned her head slowly to look at him. Her eyes were dry, but there was something in them that Emeka had never seen before, something cold and empty and far away. "I'm tired," she said quietly. Her voice was hoarse, as if she had been screaming, though she hadn't made a sound. "Tired? Okay, you want to rest small, but what should I eat? Is there food in the kitchen already?" "I don't know." Emeka blinked. "You don't know? What do you mean you don't know?" "I mean, I don't know what you should eat. I don't know if there is food. I don't know anything anymore, Emeka. I'm just tired." "But Mama," "I'm tired of waking up at 4 a.m. I'm tired of cooking. I'm tired of serving. I'm tired of being the only one who does anything in this house. I'm just tired." And with that, Mama Adana lay down on her bed, pulled the thin bed sheet over her, turned her face to the wall, and closed her eyes. Emeka stood there in the doorway, his mouth slightly open, his mind struggling to process what was happening. He waited for her to get up, certain this was just a brief moment of tiredness, a temporary mood. But she didn't move. By noon, Emeka's stomach was growling so loudly it echoed in the quiet house. He had waited in the living room, watching television, certain that Mama would eventually get up and cook. But she remained in her room, silent like a tomb. Finally, hunger drove him to do something he hadn't done in years. He went to the kitchen himself. The kitchen was small and cramped, with a low ceiling stained brown from years of smoke. He stood in the doorway looking around as if seeing it for the first time. The blackened aluminium pot stacked in the corner, the small kerosene stove sitting on a wooden stand, its paint peeling, the plastic containers of rice and gari on the shelf, the single pot on the small counter, empty and unwashed from yesterday. He opened the pot. Nothing inside but the dried remains of yesterday's stew stuck to the bottom. He checked the other pots. Nothing. He opened the small refrigerator, an ancient, wheezing thing that barely kept anything cold. Inside, half a bowl of leftover stew from 2 days ago, already developing a sour smell. 3 eggs in a cracked plastic bowl, 1 wrinkled tomato, a small bottle of groundnut oil, nearly empty. That was it. Emeka stood there, staring at the meager contents, and for the first time in his adult life, he felt something close to real fear. Who would cook for him? The thought was absurd, childish, but it consumed him completely. He realized, standing there in that smoky kitchen, that he had literally never prepared a meal for himself. Not once, not even gari and sugar, which required only hot water. He had watched his mother cook thousands of times, but had never paid attention, never learned, never thought he would need to. His hands trembled slightly as he picked up one of the eggs. How do you even start? Do you put oil first? Do you break the egg into the pan or into a bowl first? How hot should the stove be? "Mama," he called out, his voice cracking slightly with a mixture of hunger and rising panic. "Mama, please, I'm hungry. Just tell me what to do." No response. He walked back to her room. She was still lying there, eyes closed, breathing softly, existing in some place he couldn't reach. "Mama, please, I'll help you. Just get up and tell me what to do. I'll cook. Just show me how." Mama Adana opened her eyes slowly. She looked at him for a long moment, and her eyes were filled with something he couldn't quite identify. Sadness, disappointment, exhaustion, maybe even a trace of love buried deep beneath it all. Then she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper, but somehow cutting through the room like a knife. You are 35 years old, Chukwuemeka. 35. If you don't know how to feed yourself by now, then I have failed you completely as a mother. The words hit him like a physical blow. But Mama, you never thought... I never taught you? Her voice rose slightly. You have been watching me cook for 35 years. You have a university degree. You can read. You have a phone with internet connection. And you are telling me you cannot figure out how to fry an egg? She sat up slowly, and he could see tears beginning to form in her eyes. I have been waking up at 4 a.m. every single day for 35 years to make sure you never felt the pain of hunger. I have sacrificed my sleep, my health, my own needs, everything so that you could eat 3 meals a day without lifting a single finger. And what have you done, Emeka? What have you done? He opened his mouth, but no words came out. You have slept until 10 a.m. every day like you have nowhere to be. You have eaten my food like it's your right. You have waited for me to serve you like you are still a baby sucking milk breast. You have watched me grow old and tired and sick, and you have never once asked if I need help. Never once tried to learn how to take care of yourself. Never once thought about who will cook for you when I am dead and buried in the ground. The tears were flowing freely down her cheeks now, but her voice remained steady. I am tired, Emeka. My body is tired. My heart is tired. I have nothing left to give you. So today, right now, you will learn what it means to be hungry. And maybe, just maybe, if God is merciful, you will finally grow up and become the man your father wanted you to be. She lay back down, pulled the sheet over herself, and turned her face to the wall. Please leave my room. Emeka didn't eat that day. He tried. He put on proper clothes and walked to the small canteen 3 streets away where Mama sometimes bought rice when she was too tired to cook. But when he reached into his pocket for money, he found only 200 naira, not even enough for a plate of rice and stew. He walked back home, the sun beating down on his head, his stomach cramping with real hunger for the first time in years. He called his friend Chidi, the one who sometimes lent him money. Guy, abeg, I need small change. Just 1,000 naira. I go return am next week. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Emeka, you still dey ask for money for your age. Guy, I don't tire o. Last month, you collect 5,000 from me, you never return am. The month before sef, another 3,000. I no be bank, brother. And you know they work, you know they hustle, you just dey your house, they eat your mama food. When exactly you go return all this money you dey owe me? The line went dead. Emeka stared at his phone, shame burning in his chest like hot coal. He went back to the kitchen and stood there staring at the 3 eggs. Finally, he picked one up and tried to figure out how to cook it. He lit the kerosene stove. It took him 10 minutes and 3 matches because he didn't know how to pump it properly. He poured some oil into a pan and put it on the stove. He waited. The oil began to smoke. Was that normal? He didn't know. He cracked the egg against the edge of the pan. The shell broke into several pieces. Some fell into the oil. He tried to pick them out with his fingers and burned himself. He yelped and stepped back. It started to burn. Black smoke rose from the pan. He panicked and tried to flip it with a spoon, but the egg stuck to the pan, tearing into ugly pieces. Finally, he turned off the stove and stared at the disaster in front of him, a burnt, broken, shell-filled mess that barely resembled food. He tried to eat it. The first bite nearly made him gag, the taste of burnt oil and the crunch of eggshell between his teeth. He threw it away. That night, Mama Adana didn't cook dinner either. She stayed in her room, coming out only once to drink a cup of water before disappearing again. Emeka lay in his bed, stomach growling and cramping, mind racing. He couldn't sleep. The hunger was one thing, but it was the other feeling, the guilt, the shame, the slowly dawning realization of what he had become that kept him awake. He thought about all the years Mama had served him, all the mornings she had woken before dawn while he slept peacefully, all the time she had gone without, wearing the same 4 wrappers, eating smaller portions so he could have more, never buying anything for herself so she could afford to keep the house running. And what had he given her in return? Nothing, not even gratitude, just demands and expectations and the endless selfish question, Mama, what are we eating today? For the first time in his life, Chukwuemeka felt truly ashamed of himself. The next morning, Mama Adana woke to the smell of burning. She sat up in alarm and rushed to the kitchen, her heart pounding. Had she left the stove on? Was the house on fire? But when she got to the kitchen, she found Emeka standing over the kerosene stove, looking frustrated and helpless, with a pan full of blackened eggs smoking violently and a kitchen towel on fire next to the burner. "Emeka, what are you doing?" She grabbed the burning towel and threw it into the sink, turning on the tap to douse it. Water hissed and steam rose up. She turned off the stove and opened the window to let out the smoke. Emeka stood there in the middle of the chaos, looking like a child caught stealing meat from the pot. I was trying to cook," he said quietly. His voice was different, smaller, humbler. "I wanted to make breakfast for both of us, but I don't know how. I don't know anything, Mama." Mama Adana turned to look at him, really look at him, and what she saw broke her heart and filled it at the same time. Her son, her 35-year-old son, standing there with burned fingers, smoke in his hair, looking lost and helpless and ashamed, but also, for the first time in years, looking like he actually wanted to try. She began to cry, but this time they were different tears, not the tired, hopeless tears of yesterday, something else, something that felt almost like hope. "Come," she said softly, wiping her eyes with the edge of her wrapper. "Come here, let me show you." And for the first time in 35 years, Mama Adana began to teach her son how to cook. She showed him how to crack an egg properly, tapping it gently against the counter, opening it with both thumbs. She showed him how to beat it with a fork until the yolk and white mixed together. She showed him how to heat the oil, not too hot, not too cold. She showed him how to pour the egg gently and let it settle before attempting to turn it. His first successful egg was lopsided and slightly burnt on one edge, but it was edible. "Now you try again," Mama said. "One more." And he did, and this time it was better. They stood in that small, smoky kitchen together, mother and son, and cooked breakfast. Just eggs and bread, nothing fancy, but it felt like a miracle. When they sat down to eat, Emeka looked at his mother and said the words he should have said years ago. "Thank you, Mama, for everything. I'm sorry it took me so long to understand." 6 months later, Emeka still lived at home, but the house felt different now, lighter somehow. He had found a job, not the fancy corporate position his degree had promised, just a sales role at a small electronics company in Ikeja, but he went every day. He woke up at 6 a.m., earlier than his mother sometimes. He contributed 50,000 naira every month towards household expenses. It wasn't much, but it was something. It was a start. And most importantly, he had learned to cook. Not perfectly. His jollof rice was sometimes too salty, sometimes too bland. His beans took too long to soften. His plantain was occasionally burnt. But he tried. Every Sunday, he cooked lunch. And Mama Adana would sit in the living room, resting her tired legs, while her son moved around the kitchen, asking her questions, learning, growing. "Mama, how much pepper for the stew?" "Just small, not too much." "Mama, the rice is sticking to the pot. What should I do?" "Add more water and stir gently." It was a reversal of roles that made them both uncomfortable at first, but gradually it began to feel natural, normal, right. One evening, as they sat together eating his slightly too salty jollof rice and overcooked chicken, Emeka looked at his mother and said, "Mama, I've been thinking about that day when you refused to cook for me." Mama Adana looked up from her plate. "I was angry at first. I felt like you were being wicked, like you didn't love me anymore. But now I understand. You loved me too much. That was the problem. You loved me so much that I became useless, helpless, a grown man who couldn't even fry an egg." He paused, his eyes becoming glassy. "That day you refused to cook, you didn't stop being my mother. You finally became a real mother, the kind who prepares her child for the world, not the kind who keeps him as a baby forever. So thank you, Mama. Thank you for letting me be hungry. Thank you for finally teaching me how to be a man." Mama Adana reached across the table and squeezed his hand, unable to speak through her tears. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, and then Emeka asked with a slight grin, "So, Mama,
what are we eating tomorrow?" She looked at him sharply and he laughed. I'm joking. I already know what we're eating tomorrow. I'm cooking. I'm trying your special egusi soup recipe. You are going to teach me, remember?" Mama Adana laughed, a real, full, joyful laugh that she hadn't released in years. "Okay, my son, tomorrow morning we start early. Egusi soup is not easy, oh." "I know, Mama. That's why we'll do it together." And when she smiled this time, watching her son clear the plates from the table, hearing him humming as he washed the dishes, it wasn't the tired smile anymore. It was the smile of a mother who had finally taught her son to fly. Being a mama boy is not love. Taking responsibility is.